We have 5. I'll call the meeting of the Green Bay Economic Development Authority to order. We'll start with roll call. Borley,
Here.
Parrish,
Here.
Mohammed is excused right now. Johnson,
Here.
Genrick,
Here.
Hilgenberg, I guess,
Excused.
is excused. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from, or pardon me, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Parrish. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Now, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting on February the 14th.
So moved.
Moved by Parrish. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Borley. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Carried. Okay, regular order of business. Item 1, discussion on the planning for the potential expansion of the I-43 Business Center.
Yeah, why don't we, yeah, we'll just come right over here and take a look.
I know we talked about that before.
That's right, why don't you get started?
Okay. Hi, I'm David Buck. I'm in the planning department. I'm a planner too with the city. Typically long-range planning, kind of jack of all trades. We work closely with ED and Public Works and everybody else to do long-range planning. So I guess to start, discussion had taken place about the I-43 Business Center, and as Wendy had put in the small staff report, we've recently sold the last of the remaining city-owned property in the business center. And what we're doing is coming to the EDA now to talk about potential expansion. And a few things I just wanted to point out from a planning standpoint, so maybe not too exciting, but we have our comprehensive plan is called the Smart Growth 2022 Comprehensive Plan. So it's due for a rewrite pretty soon, but out of that, there were a couple elements that relate directly to economic, that's a whole chapter's economic development, but there are a couple elements that that focus directly on the I-43 Business Center. And the first was basically designating that as a specific land use within our long-term land use plan. And what I have up on the screen, well, I don't have it on the screen, but there we go. So this is an excerpt out of our comp plan. And you can kind of see the business center here. The business center is designated to be purple. So this purple color is all designated in the 20-year plan, which again ends in 2022, to be business park. So there has been, you know, a pretty big precedent from the city for this business park, which is obviously incredibly successful, to expand. The actual objective in Chapter 11, or Objective 11 in the Economic Development chapter of the comprehensive plan, basically talks about specifically I-43 Business Park infilling as much as possible, and then also expanding east. In this plan, it says possibly as far as Northview. But you can see on the map itself, in this area, this is Grandview, I believe. So it kind of shows it expanding even further out than that. Now these colors, again, the purple is business park. These shades of brown and yellow are residential. The reds are commercial. And we can get deeper into the actual designations. But again, this is kind of the long-term vision of the city at that time. As Wendy had put in the staff report, we have kind of filled up our business park, city-owned property. There are some vacant pieces in there. A lot of them are privately owned and are expansion areas or possible growth areas. So at this time, the city staff is looking at probably a good time to expand the park itself. Also, there is discussions with Public Works about expanding roadways out there. There's been wetland inventories, which for good or bad do show wetlands. But the data has been gathered or is being gathered right now. So what we're really looking for from the EDA is sort of the authorization and the, I don't know, maybe direction to start the study to look at expanding that business park. The business park itself was developed in the 80s. The last full rewrite of the covenants was, I believe, 2004. There's probably been about a dozen amendments since then. So the possibility of looking at maybe adjusting the covenants as well is out there maybe for an expansion. I'm just thinking out loud right now, but again, the business park was meant to be very green, very aesthetically pleasing, and kind of give the businesses, whether those be light industrial or office, and there are entertainment uses out there as well, kind of give them the assurance that they're going to be an area that's going to retain its value over time. And from our standpoint, going to be a great tax base for the city and an active center for employers. And then as you can see around that for housing, obviously to help with the employers. So that's really kind of what we're looking for from the direction from the EDA. The comp plan itself does recommend, a team-based approach, and that's sort of how our department operates. So, after the EDA, assuming you want us to start investigating this, we would set up a team, sort of the I-43 team, obviously would have economic development probably as the lead, Department of Public Works, obviously planning, possibly parks, but other agencies to look at that expansion. We would come back with probably to the EDA with a timetable and sort of a components of what we're looking at doing, whether that's just a flat-out expansion with I-43 zoning attached to it, the way it's drafted right now, or maybe some tweaks on that, depending what economic development has seen with, trends for development and sort of expansion pressures, and obviously what we see with wetlands and road construction constraints may also affect what land uses are in there. So we would bring that back to the EDA and kind of keep you involved through the whole steps. Obviously, any type of planning process out there, we're going to talk with the current landowners, talk with the current business park residents, and be kind of an all-inclusive process. But I think now, if not a little bit earlier, was a good time to expand that business park. Again, it is incredibly successful, and we need to capitalize on that, I think.
David, what's your timetable as far as getting back to us with just some preliminary scheduling, or, I mean, you're looking at a couple of months?
Probably
5
a couple of
6
months.
What's it?
Probably just a couple of months,
Okay.
yeah. It would be just a real rough framework, who's on the team, sort of a framework of what we're looking at doing. Again, this has really been discussed primarily between economic development and planning, so we do need to bring the other players in and get their thoughts. So, especially Public Works, because obviously roadway expansion is sort of the catalyst, providing sewer, water, utilities out there. That's all very key on how we expand and where we expand.
Any other questions for David?
Yeah, I have a couple, Dave, two things. Does Green Bay Public Schools still have land designated north of that? Do they still own land for future school that you're aware of?
Let me see if
I think it's,
well, this is
It would be
Brown
west of
Dog, it's a
Grandview.
GS.
I believe, because the color coordination legend on the lower left and the colors don't match
Yeah, I was gonna say
what
those
you were
colors.
describing, but we figured it out, but. You know,
Where do you think?
well,
Yeah,
I
I'm-
think to the north of, it's actually to the north of Old Finger Road.
This is designated for
So
school
that's,
site.
that's,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
all
school
right, so
site,
that's
okay.
the area that they, so that would be off of Humboldt then, right?
I believe so, yeah. Now, depending what the school district is doing, I don't know how viable that is as expansion site or not.
Well, I mean, that, you kind of incorporate that with residential, it's kind of that whole process is sort of the chicken and the egg theory. Do you build subdivisions and then the school, or do you put the school out there and then the subdivisions come? That's the challenge. And then also, is this driven because there's a demand versus a University Heights? Now, we can't force people to go to University Heights industry, because that's market driven, it's location. But are we seeing a need for growth here?
Yes, we've been talking with some of the businesses in the I-43 Business Park, and there are a number of them that would like to not have to leave the park, but would like to expand near their original location. So this is the likely solution for them, that they would like to be by their other location.
Case in point was, we just sold land.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Additionally, I mean, we've had some development out to the north, or I wouldn't say development itself, but we've had landowners come through, get plan developments approved for some mixed-use areas, some housing, some higher density housing as well. And like you said, is it, you know, the chicken and the egg, does the school go out there, does the businesses drive the residential, does the residential drive the businesses? They all kind of play together. But obviously, the availability, now assuming those developers develop the housing stock, that availability of housing is very encouraging for employers. I mean, you hear the big thing, the talent drain now, where the, that's not the right term, but they're trying to draw in the more techie types, and the young professionals. They like a good housing choice near them, near work typically. And so I think the housing to the north could, and to the south, could potentially drive more expansion of the business park, but, you know, alternatively, the business park expansion could drive those developers to want to develop more housing. Either way, it's a win for the city. I mean, housing is a great tax base, business is even better tax base, but they go hand in hand. Then obviously, as you get more households and more kids, that may put more pressure on the school to put the school, which then, of course, you know, it all drives on each other. But just the fact that we are running out of city-owned sites, and we still have pressure to people wanting to develop and people wanting to expand who are already there, I think that's the biggest impetus to try to move this forward.
All right.
Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion to.
Chair,
Yes.
I have a late communication from a concerned citizen.
Oh, okay. Should I just read this? Yeah, I'll just read this. And this is from, Diane Peters. I'd like to address the EDA regarding an item on your agenda. The item is the feasibility study for expanding the I-43 Business Park. Our names are Donald and Diane Peters. We live in what is supposed to be the University Heights Commerce Center. Back in 2002, 2003, we were approached by the city to buy some of our land to start the business park. We were excited to see this happen. The city bought all the land behind us. We are left with frontage. We sold our cows, dissolved from our family business, and all our farm equipment. We were told this was going to boom and be ready for development. Then came 2007, 2008, where the economy took a fall. No one saw this coming. It happens. There has to be some development out here, not on our land. This is a beautiful area, lots of room for business to grow, a nice trail to walk on lunches. The roads are not in yet, but sewer pipes have been laid for years now, and I was told that we are otherwise shovel-ready. So why do we need the feasibility study for the other park? Shouldn't this project be finished before another started? This is a taxpayer money being spent. They already spent the money on our park, only to have nothing promoted out here. They are out by the University Heights, okay,
That's right.
right.
But,
They-
I
they've been in the-
understand their concern, but, I mean, this makes so much sense. There's substantial infrastructure
well,
here now.
not knowing this, but to my point is, it's market-driven.
Right, yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, you know, we want a grocery store in downtown Green Bay, you know, is the claim, but
Okay.
if a person can't figure out how to make $1, they're not gonna be there. Same as this. I mean, there's a demand for this land. It's part of the comp plan. I think Gary and I, you were on that with me on that, when we did that 2022.
Yeah, I guess if we had our
We need to
choice,
pursue
that
it.
would be all developed out there by now, right?
Just
So,
takes people
it
with
doesn't-
money and a
doesn't
desire to
happen that way.
develop.
I guess I would take this and put this on file, and we'll, keep their concerns in mind, and, hopefully, yeah, things will happen out there. Exactly when, I guess none of us know, but it's still a business park planned, so. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then I would accept the motion to direct planning staff to begin the planning process and feasibility of expanding the I-43 Business Center.
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Genrick, second by Borley. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you. Item E, informational brownfields program update.
All right. So just to provide a little bit of background to our new member, the EDA is the Brownfield Advisory Committee. As identified in our work plan for the EPA, we got a grant through the EPA last year, $300,000, to do assessment work. And that was a 3-year grant. We started in October of 2017. So on the last page of the packet, you should have received of our handout. I've got it on the screen here, Ken, if you want to put it up. And so this is just a little summary of what we've been doing since October. We're less than a third of the way through this grant, and already we've spent about 44.5%. So we are really flying through our funds, which is a good thing. Looking at some of our projects, about half of these sites are dedicated to the shipyard area. We have identified that as a priority area for the city. There's a lot of brownfields down there, so that's where we've been dedicating the vast majority of these funds. Already we've got 8 phase 1s completed, well, 7 completed, 1 is currently underway. The one currently underway is at the Adams Street parking lot. The RDA, Redevelopment Authority, has put out an RFP for that site, the parking lot there on Adams and Washington, to see if maybe there might be a potential for that site to get redeveloped. So with the potential redevelopment of that site, we thought we should probably move ahead with a phase 1 on that to see if there's a need to do any testing out there. So we're currently in the process of getting that one done. Looking at phase 2s, we have gotten 5. We're either completed with 5 or underway. We've got 4 underway actually and 1 completed. The one completed is 901 Main Street. That's the property that Garrett Bader currently has an option on. There's actually a development proposal being discussed tomorrow at RDA for that site for mixed-use apartments and retail. The vast majority of those other phase 2s that are underway are with shipyard properties. We've got 1 remedial action plan complete through Larson Green. We actually just learned the other day that WEDC has approved a $500,000 grant on that site for brownfield remediation, which is great news, to get that site remediated and redeveloped. And then we've got 1 asbestos and lead inspection project currently underway with the Firehouse Flats. That's the old friary down on, I'm blanking on the location. Cass Street. There's a proposal there to convert that site into senior housing in the old friary building and church, and a new townhomes for affordable, I believe, or maybe a mix of affordable and market rate. Yep, so that's a brief update on what we've been doing. Looking forward, we'll probably be doing some more testing, mostly in the shipyard area. That's what we have coming up here most recently. Any questions?
I was just going to ask, so far, okay, you've done the phase 1s, there's been some phase 2s that are either underway. Any major red flags yet, or too soon to tell, or?
With some of the phase 2s we've done, that's where you actually go in and do the testing, where you can really see what kind of situation we've got. We're going to have to do some additional testing. at the Badger Sheet Metal property. That came back with some red flags, not to be unexpected though. I mean, that's an industrial site. It's been around a long time. Not only that, it was a slough about 70 years ago or so. They filled that in with some not so clean fill back however many years ago. So there's going to be some remediation there, most likely. That could potentially be resolved through a cap. But we'll see. We have some more testing to do there. Nothing too scary. I think everything's something we can probably take care of so far.
And then the final question I have, so the remaining budget, is that gonna get us through, the completion of these sites, or probably not, or any idea?
It's hard to say right now. We're about out of our Phase 1 money. We've got quite a bit with Phase 2, or that Task 3 would also cover any additional testing that would be needed after the Phase 2. We're probably going to have to use quite a bit of that for some additional testing for some of these shipyard sites, is my guess. Hopefully, we'll be able to cover it. If we don't, if we run out of money quicker than what we are anticipating, which looks like we could certainly be the case since we're blowing through it so quick, we can apply for another grant earlier. So we don't actually have to wait till 2020 to apply for another grant if we've already gone through the majority of our funds. So if we keep going at this pace, I'm guessing we'll probably be applying here in a couple years, or probably next year.
Any other questions?
Matt, just so that I understand this properly, you've got the approved budget and then the amount expense next to it. Is there any ability to adjust the budget?
You mean move some of those tasks around, like if we need to take
Yeah,
some money out of one?
You run out of money under Phase 1, can you shift some Phase 2
Oh.
over to Phase 1?
Yep, we could do that. We have that ability to ask EPA. There'd be a process, but
Right.
there's certainly a possibility to do that.
So the budget is basically based off of the grant application that you submitted to EPA?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
Thank you for that update.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks.
it. Any other business items that I'm not aware of? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Parrish. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Genrick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Fastest meeting I've ever been a